Saturn and the god of finance. Time, contracts, debt, the black cube of capital. Welcome back. I'm Adeline Atlas, 11 times published author, and this is the Money Magic series. When we talk about money, contracts, and debt, we are not just talking about economics. We are talking about Saturn. In mythology, Saturn was the Roman god of agriculture, time, and harvest cycles. He was remembered as the ruler of the Golden Age, when abundance reigned and humanity lived in harmony. But Saturn's gifts always carried a weight. What he gave in plenty, he also demanded back. His sickle, the tool of the harvest, was also the symbol of endings. This is why Saturn is the god of both prosperity and limitation, both fertility and debt. And in the occult imagination, Saturn rules finance more than any other god, because finance itself is the art of binding human beings to cycles of time, obligation, and payment. To understand Saturn's role in money, we need to begin with his most basic domain, time. Saturn governs time in two senses: the cycles of nature and the relentless march of mortality. The Romans held the festival of Saturnalia at the winter solstice, marking the rebirth of light in the darkest season. It was a festival of reversal. Masters served slaves, social roles were inverted, because everyone knew that time itself would soon invert. The days would grow longer again. But outside of festivals, Saturn ruled through limits. Crops had seasons, debts had due dates, life had an end. Saturn embodied the truth that nothing escapes time. This was not just religious poetry. It was the foundation of finance. Every financial instrument, from a loan to a bond, is essentially a contract with time. Debt is the purest Saturnian invention. To owe someone is to be bound not in the present, but in the future. You eat bread today, and Saturn marks you to pay tomorrow. The word obligation comes from the Latin ligare, meaning to bind. A bond is literally a binding. When you sign a loan contract, you are binding your future labor to another person or institution. And interest is Saturn's scythe, slicing time into profit for the lender. The longer you take, the more Saturn claims. This is why compound interest has been called the eighth wonder of the world. It is Saturn's principle of inevitability, magnified. What begins as a small seed grows into an enormous harvest for the creditor, just as a few grains sown in the ground yield fields of wheat. Saturn governs that law of multiplication, but always through discipline, structure, and time. Ancient societies feared this power. In Mesopotamia, kings would periodically cancel debts in jubilees, freeing peasants from obligations that threatened to collapse the social order. These cancellations were framed as divine resets, aligning society again with cosmic balance. In the Hebrew Bible, usury, charging interest, was forbidden among Israelites. To demand more back than was given was seen as an affront to God, because it meant enslaving your brother through time. In medieval Europe, the Catholic Church forbade Christians from charging interest. The logic was always Saturnian. Time belongs to God, not to men, and to sell time is to usurp divine authority. Yet despite prohibitions, interest persisted, because finance depends on Saturn's principle. You cannot have long-term investment, credit, or complex trade without binding people through time. Saturn was always stronger than bans. The festival of Saturnalia reveals another truth about Saturn and money. During this festival, debts were sometimes suspended, slaves were allowed liberty, and gifts were exchanged. It was a ritual inversion, a temporary lifting of Saturn's chains. But once the festival ended, obligations returned. This mirrors the cycles of modern finance. Occasionally, debt relief is granted, interest rates are lowered, or loans are forgiven. But these moments are rare, and the structure always reasserts itself. Saturn allows a glimpse of freedom only to reinforce his dominion afterward. Architecture makes Saturn's rule visible. Walk through a financial district and you will see black cubes, massive sculptures, glossy lobbies with cube motifs, corporate logos shaped like squares. The cube is Saturn's symbol. It represents weight, solidity, limitation, the geometry of confinement. Unlike a sphere, which moves freely, or a pyramid, which points upward, the cube contains and restrains. In esoteric traditions, the black cube is Saturn's throne. It appears in occult diagrams, in Masonic architecture, in modern art placed outside banks. The message is subtle but constant. You are entering Saturn's domain, where obligation is immovable and time cannot be escaped. Language too bears Saturn's mark. Think of words like mortgage. From the French mortgage, it means death pledge. You promise payment until death or until the pledge is fulfilled. Bankruptcy comes from bancarrota, the broken bench of a banker whose credit failed, a public ritual of humiliation. Bond, obligation, liability, all imply chains and burdens. Financial terminology is ritual language, echoing Saturn's archetype of binding and consequence. Even the word credit comes from credere, to believe. Saturn is the one who enforces whether belief is justified. If you default, the judgment falls. Modern markets still display Saturn's presence in their cycles. Corporations divide their years into quarters, echoing the four seasons. Each quarter ends with judgment. Earnings reports delivered like offerings to shareholders, who act as priests of capital. A good report is rewarded with rising stock prices, a bad one punished with decline. These ritual offerings repeat endlessly, synchronized with the calendar. The fiscal year itself often begins or ends near solstices or equinoxes, aligning financial time with cosmic time. When you see executives anxiously preparing for quarterly results, you are watching a modern Saturnalia, where order depends on ritual acknowledgement of time's demands. Saturn also rules the darker side of finance, collapse and crisis. Black Monday in 1987, Black Thursday in 1929, Black Tuesday the following week, all marked catastrophic losses. Why are these days called black? Black is Saturn's color, symbolizing mourning, austerity, and severity. When markets collapse, when debts are called in, when time runs out, Saturn harvests. Investors speak of blood in the streets, echoing sacrificial imagery. Crashes function like Saturnian purges, burning away excess and punishing overreach. They are not random, they are ritual corrections, reminding markets that Saturn's law cannot be defied forever. On the global scale, Saturn's dominion is even clearer. Institutions like the International Monetary Fund or World Bank lend to nations, demanding repayment with interest. Countries become debtors, their policies dictated by Saturnian contracts. Populations labor under austerity measures, cuts, limits, restrictions, embodiments of Saturn's archetype. Entire generations can be bound by agreements made before their birth. Debt becomes intergenerational karma, passed down like a curse. Nations cannot escape without restructuring, default, or collapse. Saturn, the god of inevitability, ensures that time itself enforces payment. The esoteric tradition amplifies this view. In astrology, Saturn is called the Great Malefic, not because he is evil, but because he enforces reality. He brings consequences, boundaries, and lessons. In finance, this manifests as discipline, budgets, audits, penalties. Without Saturn, there would be chaos. Endless credit without repayment, speculation without consequence. With Saturn, there is order, but also weight, gravity, and fear. Astrologers associate Saturn with the metal lead, heavy, dull, but essential. Finance, too, is heavy and dull compared to the glitter of gold or the fluidity of currency. But without Saturn's lead, there is no structure. Consider the symbolism of the scythe. In one hand, Saturn held the sickle of agriculture, harvesting crops. In later imagery, as Father Time or the Grim Reaper, the scythe harvested lives. In finance, the scythe harvests wealth through interest. The longer the debt endures, the larger the harvest. Compound interest is the scythe swinging faster and faster, cutting deeper with every pass. What was once fertile abundance becomes stripped bare. The harvest is inevitable because Saturn waits for no one. Psychologically, Saturn's rule is profound. Debt chains the mind, not only the wallet. To owe is to live in the future, always anticipating payment. Interest gnaws at peace of mind. Deadlines loom like Saturn's shadow. The fiscal calendar dominates workers' lives. Paychecks every 2 weeks, bills every month, taxes every year. Time itself becomes money, and money becomes time. Saturn is internalized as anxiety, discipline, and routine. The 9-to-5 workday is a Saturnian ritual, slicing human lives into units of labor. Retirement age is Saturn's final milestone, when time has been given to capital, and the worker hopes to reclaim a fragment of freedom before the scythe falls. Even culture encodes Saturn's grip. In finance, discipline is praised. Investors are told to stay the course, respect the rules, pay your dues. These are Saturnian commandments. Freedom is permitted only within structure. Break the rules, default, overspend, gamble, and Saturn punishes. Follow the rules, save, budget, honor contracts, and Saturn rewards with stability. The duality is stark but inescapable. Saturn is both jailer and guardian, punisher and teacher. This is why Saturn remains central in occult interpretations of finance. He represents the ultimate reality that no transaction escapes time, no contract escapes consequence, no debt escapes payment. The black cube is his altar, contracts his scripture, interest his harvest. Modern banking may appear to be about numbers, but behind the numbers is Saturn's law. That is why banks look like temples and vaults like sanctums. That is why crashes are sacrifices and reports are offerings. Finance is Saturn's cult, and we are all initiated, whether we know it or not. So the next time you see a quarterly report, a loan contract, or a black cube sculpture outside a bank, remember, you are looking at Saturn. You are witnessing the god of time and debt, the enforcer of cycles, the lord of contracts. His scythe is interest, his throne the fiscal calendar, his color black, his lesson inevitability. Saturn is the god of finance, because finance is nothing more than the management of time, and time is Saturn's eternal domain. Welcome back. I'm Adeline Atlas, 11 times published author, and this is the Manifestation series, where we don't just talk about manifesting, we master it. Because let's be honest, manifestation has been watered down, reduced to vague quotes, mood boards, and empty promises. But you didn't come here to wish. You came here to build a reality that hits different. A reality that responds to your frequency, your language, your alignment, and your decision to stop playing small. This series is not fluff. It's physics, frequency, and fierce creative power. Inside the Manifestation series, you're going to learn how to collapse timelines, shift identities, and speak worlds into existence, just like the greatest minds in history. This isn't just about being positive. This is about being powerful. Here's what you unlock inside. Vision to Reality, the Vision Board course. You've heard about vision boards, but you've never done them like this. This is a full energetic ritual, a precision-coded map for your subconscious, designed to bridge image, frequency, and strategy. It's not arts and crafts. It's blueprinting your future in visual form and turning it into matter. Time, quantum timelines, and why time isn't real. Manifestation doesn't take time. It takes alignment. In this module, I'll show you how time is just a mirror of energy and how to collapse timelines using choice, clarity, and vibration. Past, present, future, they're happening now. And when you know how to navigate time quantum style, you stop waiting and start receiving. Quantum jumping, instantly up level. Your next level life isn't years away. It's one decision away. In this training, you'll learn how to quantum jump, how to shift into a version of you that already has what you desire. This isn't fantasy. It's how high-performance creators, athletes, and spiritual masters leap beyond limits. Jump now. Land in power. Every word. The power of affirmations and spoken language. Words build worlds. In this course, I show you how to use affirmations like spell work, not just repeating empty mantras, but speaking with vibration, intention, and spiritual force. If you've ever felt like affirmations don't work, this will change everything. You'll learn to command your field, not just request from it. The greats, learning from the most exceptional minds in history. We're not the first to master this. In this legendary module, we decode the techniques, habits, and quantum genius of the world's most powerful manifestors, from ancient sages to modern icons. You'll learn how to think like the greats, move like the greats, and manifest like the greats. This isn't another feel-good series. This is a spiritual weapon, disguised as a manifestation course. It's made for leaders, cycle breakers, visionaries, and soul builders. You don't need another wish list. You need a system that teaches you how to bend reality. This is that system. So if you're ready to stop playing with potential and start creating results, welcome to your next level. The Manifestation series is open now. You know what to do. Let's build what they said was impossible and make it inevitable.